All right, welcome back. So let's take a look and see what is new inside Adobe Photoshop 2023. And if you haven't taken a look at my video, which I did last week, which was for Adobe Camera Raw, Adobe Camera Raw is the one that really had the updates, along with Lightroom, since they're the exact same program. First of all, one of the things they've improved on is the selections in artificial intelligence, meaning if you go up here to select subject or sky, that's using artificial intelligence. If you go to select in mask, you hit select subject here, or you'll notice in this drop down you can do cloud for more detailed results. It's going to give you a better selection. In any case, that's using artificial intelligence. We'll hit cancel. Or if you come over here and you use the object selection tool, where it's automatically going to make a selection of your subject, you'll let it analyze it. Remember, you can either draw a lasso around it or rectangle, or you can just wait a few seconds and it will automatically do it. In this case, it got our subject, but it's not picking the camera. It's making that a separate subject, all right? So it's made improvements on those selections. What's new is the content aware fill. Now, content aware fill has always been here. It's not something new. What they've done is just make it easier to apply. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select this subject right here. So I've selected this whole person. So what I'm going to do is hit Shift Delete on a Mac, or I think it's Shift Backspace on a PC, and that will automatically delete that subject. Now that only works when you're in the object selection tool. Deselect that. If you were to just take the lasso for some reason and do the same thing where you circle around the person and you hit Shift Delete, that's going to bring up content aware fill, which is really what we just used, but you're manually going to have to select that and hit OK. And then it will do the same content aware fill that we just saw. In this case, I made a selection around the subject that didn't do quite as good of a job. All right. Now, if you run into an issue where the content aware fill doesn't work that good, remember that you can always make a selection and go to either edit content aware fill here, or right click inside and go to content aware fill. And if you use this content aware fill, it will allow you to kind of pick the areas you want to select from. Sometimes this works better. Sometimes it doesn't work better. This is all going to be dependent on the image and what you're trying to do. There's multiple options, and in certain images and certain cases, different options work better than the others. What you need to know here is what's available, and if one doesn't work, move on to the next one and try that. So we'll go ahead and hit cancel. That looks pretty good. We can come on over here. We can do the same thing. So we've got this guy right here. I can click on that object selection tool. Notice it's only selecting the white here, which is not what we want. So we're going to use the lasso, and we're going to say, hey, object selection tool, this is what I want you to make a selection of, and it should do a pretty good job. And that looks good. Once again, Shift Delete, boom, it's good. It's a little soft here on the edges. Let me get rid of that. So right here, it made it a little soft. You might have to go back in and kind of fix that area. I don't think most people are going to notice it, but I can see on the edges where we went around. In certain areas, it didn't do quite a good job, but that seems to work pretty well. If you're finding the information in any of these videos helpful, if you could please give me a thumbs up, that would be wonderful. If you would like to subscribe and get future videos as they come up, because I'm going to be doing a whole series on Lightroom right here, that would be great as well. So the next option here, I'm just going to go ahead and point it out and show you what it is. I don't need to go through the whole process. I can explain to it. Everyone's going to understand it. So now we have the ability to share for comments. So notice right here, we've got share to invite to edit, meaning we can invite someone to edit it or manipulate the image, or we can share for review, which is a beta version of it, meaning it's testing it out to see how people like it. And what you would do if you click the review for beta It will allow you to get a link, and whoever you send that link to will be able to review and add comments to the image that it's going to upload to a cloud that you're going to be able to see and they're going to be able to see. And they can say, no, yes, I like this, whatever they want. So that's new inside of Adobe Photoshop. The next thing we're going to take a look at is something that is new inside of the Neural Engine. So we're going to take this image right here. I'm going to duplicate it just so we can see a before and after. That was Command J that I hit to duplicate that. And we're going to go up here to Filter and go down to Neural Filters. And inside Neural Filter, we've got this new photo restoration thing. Notice right here, it says beta. We're going to turn that on. You might have to download this the first time. It's working on the process. And what this is going to do is kind of really depend on what you want. So it's going to photo enhance the image. It's going to enhance the face of the image. And if you want to do some scratch reduction, you can add this as well. I haven't done any, so we'll add a little bit and see how much it goes. So we're about halfway. Let it work its magic. So it looks like it did an okay job there. And you can see right here, it really enhanced the face, and that kind of freaks me out a little bit. So I'm going to take that down a little bit so it's not so pronounced. It's improving it a little there, but not quite as where it was. And I'm going to increase the scratch reduction to basically 100. Looks like I missed 100 a little bit. And we'll go ahead and let that run through its process and then take a look and see what it did. All right, so we have got 50% photo enhancement, 14% face enhancement, basically 100% on scratch. And down here, we've got some adjustments so we can do some noise reduction. We can get rid of some artifacts and stuff like that. And just remember, they do have, are you satisfied with the results or like anything like this? Look, I don't ever scan and do this for people, but it did a pretty good job. And this would be not time that I didn't have to go in and fix those scratches. So what we're going to do is we're going to output this as a new layer. I guess we could have just done on the current layer since we already created one. Let's go ahead and turn it off so you can see what it looked like. All those scratches, it did a pretty good job of removing it. That would be time spent. I don't have to do anything. A lot of what it did as far as the enhancement is just improve the contrast and stuff like that. The face looks about the same, which is kind of how I want it. When I had it up high, it did improve and start to make it look like it was real, like a good photo. But I think that's something that's just going to be subjective, whether somebody wants it or doesn't want it. So at this point, this would be pretty easy for me to just go in here and clean up the rest of the scratches that I didn't quite understand. So it did a pretty good job there. Let's go ahead and check out another one. So we've got this old photo of this dog. So we'll go up here to the neural filters, come down here to the photo restoration, turn that one back on. In this one, notice it's only doing photo enhancement because it's not recognizing a face. We're going to go ahead and increase that scratch reduction to 100. We'll let this run through its process right here. I will speed it up. It does take a little bit of time. I'm saying on my computer, it's taking about 15 seconds. Yeah, and that did a pretty nice job of cleaning it up. It did look like it might have messed up the face a little bit. Take that out as a filter. And well, I guess it didn't really mess the face up too bad at all. So it did a pretty good job as far as I'm concerned at fixing that image. And that was time that I did not have to spend doing it myself. That is the new photo restoration feature inside of the neural filters. All right, and our last new thing here, you're going to go up to Window and you're going to drop down to Materials. And it's going to bring up this new plugin called Substance Materials. And you're going to see all these different options. And there they've loaded. Let's go ahead and slide this down so we can see a little bit more. That looks better. And we've got all these different types of textures. And what we can do is import these textures into the background. Let's go ahead and use this bright, shiny gold one that we see right here. I will slide this back up so we can see our options. And so resolution, we have it at medium. We can do draft, medium, high, and ultra. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and stick with medium. Down here, we've got different ways to manipulate the way that this looks in the background. I can slide any of these sliders. Look, The best way for you guys to figure out what this stuff means, and notice that there are different presets that we have here and they're going to apply and do different things. Or you can manually come in here and adjust these sliders on your own. I'm not going to show you how to slide a slider. This is something that you could easily play with yourself. Here you've got position, technical parameters, all this stuff. These are all different ways to kind of create these new fake backgrounds. This is nothing that I would actually use. And we've also got a lighting option as well under this. So I'll slide that down. You can see these new Adobe Substance materials are available inside the new Photoshop. Now, if you don't find any that you like, you can come in here and search on the web and try to find new ones if there's anything that you like. So if you like plywood, you can come in here, click on the plywood. It's going to give you some look in just a second. There you go. You've got your fake plywood. You're ready to go. For the next images, we're going to quit. I need to quit out of this Photoshop because we need to go to the Photoshop beta. I will show you where the betas are available, and I'll open that up and I'll show you the new features because they're only available in the beta version of Photoshop. All right, we are inside the Creative Cloud app. The little window to bring it is right up here. And if you scroll down, you'll see right down here, it says beta apps, and you click on that. Anything that has a beta app is available. Now I've downloaded this beta app to my Photoshop, and I can go ahead here and open this up. You're going to see it's going to look a lot different than the regular Photoshop. Remember, these are betas. They're not always fully functional. They might have some issues. So just be ready that you might have some problems if you're trying to use a beta version of Photoshop. So we've opened it up. You can see we've got that. All right, so let's come on up here to the neural filters. And we're going to come and take a look at the new backdrop creator. We'll open that up. You'll notice that this is a beta, so it's something that we are testing out. And we have a couple of different ways to find images that we might want to use. In this case, I can click here and go to popular prompts on Behance, and it's going to give us some images that have been popular, that have been picked. So I could click on create, and it's going to take this image and pick that one in some other like images that I might want to use. You'll notice in this selection it says HD. Make sure you do put HD in there if you want a higher quality image. So I could come in here and I could simply just select this if it's something that I like. Now, if I want to do something different, I can come up there and I can manually type in Sky HD, and then we'll put pink, and I'll hit create. And what that's going to do is search for images that I can use, that I can apply to my photo. So you can see right here, it's picked up some different types of images that I could import. So I've got these options here. So what option do I like the best? Let's say that I like this option right here. I can select it. You'll notice it gave me a little check mark, and it's showing me over here what it looks like. Now, if I wanted to pick other selections that are available, we'll go ahead and remove this, that are like this. I can come over here to this little window and click on that, and it's going to pick some more options that are similar to this. And you can see we've got some very similar options here. Now, I can output, in this case, this one and this one. In this case, I don't want this, so I'm going to check it off, and that got rid of it. Notice this is the only one with the blue check. If I was to come down here and hit OK, this is the only background that's going to be imported. But if I come in here and I click on any of these, in this case, I don't want that one, on these four, now all these have checks. If I hit OK, it's going to put them inside of a folder and give me the option to use any of these as a background on my image. All right, so we'll turn this off. Let's go ahead and make a selection here. So we'll go to select and mask. We'll hit select subject. We'll hit refine hair. And we're going to output this as a selection. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come up here to the group. If you apply a mask to a group, it will apply this to all these items that are below it. So I'm going to go ahead and make a mask here. So in this case, when I turn this back on, you can see it's pasting this image, but in the wrong spot. Not a big deal. You're going to hit Command I to invert that. And now we have these backgrounds below. So I can turn them sequentially on and off to see which one I might like the best. So let's say that I like this image the best, then I can go in here and refine this. Obviously, we need to fix the hair a little bit and we need to clean this up. But basically, that's how you use this new neural filter to import or find backgrounds for your images. The next thing we're going to take a look at, and we're going to need a different image. So give me a second here. All right, so we are in the beta version of Photoshop still. And what we're going to take a look at first is live Gaussian blur and live gradients. So we're going to go up here to filter, and then we're going to go down to blur, and you'll notice that we have Gaussian blur, but also something called live Gaussian blur. So we'll go ahead and select that, and it's going to bring up this new window that we've never seen before. And notice it's got a plus and a minus, and right now it's automatically blurring the image. So we've got blur amount and fade opacity. All right, and we can output that as a current layer or a new layer, depending on what we want to do. Now, the cool thing about this is it's showing you live what the blur is going to do. So I can lower the blur and we're going to get less, or I can increase it and it's showing us that blur. I can also use my brush to remove it from a certain area. So if I want to remove it from our subject, I can quickly come in here with my brush and paint that out, and she will still be in focus like she originally was. And hopefully I've got most of this area. I'm not going to spend tons of time doing it. So now you can see this area, the blur has been removed, and then it looks good there in the back. So I can come in here, and I did this. I'm going to fade the opacity just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And just like that, we've applied this new blur to this new layer. So this is with the live Gaussian blur and then the live Gaussian blur removed. And this is back how it was original. And the last option inside of the Photoshop beta is what we call a live gradient. I'll just kind of show you how this works. So this is our gradient tool. I'm just going to simply make a gradient right over this image. And what you're going to know is notice that we have this new line in these little circles. And what it's going to allow us to do, instead of having to come up here and make the selections everywhere, now we can go into the properties, and you'll notice right here in the properties, we've got a whole bunch of information. I'm going to drag this out and make it bigger so we can see everything that's going on. So we will open this up. So first of all, we've got our gradient, which is right here. We can change or pick from a different gradient. So I could go inside of the purples and I could pick this gradient, and now we've changed that. So we can automatically select directly from the properties. We can change inside of the properties the type of gradient that we want to use. We're going to go back to the linear gradient. We can change the angle by either picking here or using this scrubber to manually slide it any way or direction that we want. We can change the scale so we can make it larger or smaller depending on what we want to do. And remember, this is all live, so we are seeing it in action as we do it. Before, you kind of had to draw and then draw and then draw, but now we can kind of make it bigger or smaller at any time. This is freaking awesome. This is one thing that I do hope that they get fixed and put inside the next edition of Photoshop. So we've got our smoothness here, so we can change how that gradient is working. So if we want more blue or more pink. Down here we have some opacity controls, so we can come in here and really configure how much of this color has been applied to this image. So we can come in here and slide this around and play with stuff. Now I'm going to go over to the layers palette. Remember, we can also change the blending mode. So if I want to change the blending mode, I can, and then I can come in here and adjust this, and we're still seeing it live even with the blending mode. We can work on the location. If I want to reset the alignment, I can just go ahead and click on that. It's going to go back exactly how it was in the beginning. You can also change the colors by coming in here and just kind of double clicking. So I could pick a new color if I wanted a different color and hit OK and do that. You can do the same thing down here, pick a new color. In this case, I'll pick that gray color. We're good like that. I can also add new points. So you notice there's no plus there. It's just a little icon. But when I hover over this and get that plus and I click, it's going to add a new point. I could add a new point down here. and I could change that point color to a different color. I can really do anything that I want in this new live gradient as far as applying color to an image. So I really like this new live gradients. I think it's much more helpful than the live Gaussian blur. Not a huge fan of the live Gaussian blur, but I really like the live gradient option in here in the beta version. But you have to remember, it is in the beta version. Well, that's it for all the new updates in Adobe Photoshop that we have for the October of 2023 version. If you have any comments or questions, you can always leave those below, and don't forget to subscribe.